First off, I wanted to clear the air for this review. I had only seen this film one time and I was in high school. That was a long time ago and things have changed. With older, more experienced eyes on this movie, what I discovered made me pedal back a lot. This is something unique and well crafted. An artisanal film about the struggles of surviving when society has collapsed and there are infected monsters lurking about. The film begins with a small group of animal rights activists infiltrating an experimental laboratory, I guess that's where you would do experiments, where they are documenting the abuse of chimpanzees. What the group thought was going to be bad enough, they came across a bizarre sight of one of the apes strapped down and forced to watch several screens of human aggression and violence. Then the group discovers a lab worker who tries to call for security, but it's too late, and the activists try to free the chimps. Not listening to the lab worker about some infection, a freed chimp attacks one of the activists, immediately infecting her. Now, freaking out, the activist presses the lab worker about what's happening, and he says the chimpanzees are dangerous. They are infected with the rage virus, and all hell breaks loose. And we begin our story properly at the end of society. Before we move away from the rest of the film's plot, I wanted to stop and take notice. This movie is actually one of the first of its kind to try and explain a viral outbreak that would liken itself to a zombie apocalypse. So this is fascinating to me because in 2003, I would have been just a little kid and just now learning about zombies. So I grew up with zombies evolving in Hollywood. While many key elements of this film are references to George A. Romero's classic works like Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead, both the zombie films, but the origins of what caused the outbreak were never fully explored and often relegated to being classified as supernatural. But here, in 28 Days Later, we actually have a virus, and a name of a virus, Rage. Me personally, I can't imagine chalking up a zombie apocalypse without some real-world tie-in to explain this possibility. Now, of course, 28 days later after the lab incident, we are introduced to Jim, a bicycle courier who wakes up alone in a hospital bed, not knowing what happened to society while he was in a coma. Jim wanders around empty London before testing his luck with the new residents in town, the rage-infected humans. This is when Jim happens upon two survivors, who help guide him to safety before telling him the brutal truth. The world you remember before is simply gone. Jim, like most people, struggles mentally to accept this new reality, but has to keep moving forward for his survival. What you thought was going to be a survival horror film almost becomes a road trip movie, with monsters randomly popping up to attack our survivors. Along with this road trip, Jim will come across various gruesome sights of what happened to most people in the last few weeks of their lives. He will find other living humans like Selena, and a single father and his daughter, Frank and Hannah, and together they will find shelter by following a repeated radio broadcast that claims they are soldiers who have found salvation in the answer to the virus.
Down the corridor, flat 157.
No! Thank you. Thank you.
As straightforward as this story is, it has a nice hefty length to it that allows you enough time to live in this new world with Jim and the others, as well as grow some form of attachment to our characters as they struggle to live on. The cinematography has a unique choice of close-ups and Dutch angles that are to give you the feeling of claustrophobia and the unnerving calm of a vacant city left in ruins. And to add to the further uncalm feeling, this movie is so old it was shot on film, which adds that cinematic authenticity. But what I'm really picking up here with this choice of camera work was the budget was incredibly small and didn't have much options in conveying more than traditional Hollywood-style camera of cinema. What I'm saying there is that they're hiding shots. This can be also looked at with the lighting. The lighting is also bizarre to me, only in the sense that the lights are sometimes too harsh on the subjects, and being captured on the film gives it a vibe of angelical depictions. A bright light behind our characters leaves a soft glow around their skin. And if they are in a dark scene, well, good luck. The camera whips around and the editing's too quick for some of these sequences. I wasn't able to see everything going on. I kinda just had to wait for the aftermath to figure out what really happened. Now, I can see these are bad signs of filmmaking, or they are an intentional style. It definitely gave me the impression that this is a story from a different world. The acting is well done, even if it's a bunch of newcomers, like this guy, Cillian Murphy, who plays our main protagonist, Jim. Murphy had some work before this film, but this is considered his breakout role, and this movie put him on the path to stardom. Though Murphy is a good actor, I don't like his character Jim. I can see that he's a very untrustworthy guy in his eyes, and the way he holds himself. Another actor of note is Brendan Gleeson, who is a well-known actor to most of us for his role in Harry Potter as Mad-Eye Moody. Brendan is a fine actor and brings love and excitement to our characters as an acting father figure of the group, the Monsters. That's what I'm going to call them for now, since the screenwriter Alex Garland and the director Danny Boyle have not considered this a zombie film. Only the public has held it in that regard. But essentially, yeah, you can say the infected are zombies. There was a side note made by Garland that he grew up watching Romero's movies, and he was reacquainted with the genre back in 1996 when he played a game called Resident Evil. This advancement with zombies is accompanied by super aggressive motives, their ability to run, crawl, and climb. Any of these would scare me along. And it's not just worrying about being bitten. That introduction sequence and throughout the film, you are repeatedly told that you have to worry about their blood. The blood is what carries the pathogen that leads to the rage virus. Because of the infected blood aspect, the filmmakers went the extra step to further level up their scary factor with vomiting blood. I can't say exactly why these zombies vomit, since it just seems to be random, but if one does, you get infected and you've got 10 to 20 seconds to turn. Fuck that. I'm fine with just being bitten, please. And fun spoiler here, but since we are here, zombies can starve. Our protagonist's only issue is they don't know how long it will take because they've only been around for 28 days since the beginning. Okay, 28 days later versus The Walking Dead, or more specifically, Season 1, Episode 1, Days Gone By of The Walking Dead. There are very strong parallels that The Walking Dead kind of ripped off 28 Days. The premises are so eerily similar, with Jim and Rick both waking up in abandoned hospitals after a zombie outbreak. Once the protagonist leaves the building, we spend a little time with them in their new world, the apocalypse. There are also so many shot-for-shot similarities. Now, the author of The Walking Dead, Kirkman, has stated that he never saw 28 Days Later until he had started writing his comic, but I think it's super safe to say the TV show's crew were heavily inspired by the movie. There's one more comparison that's kind of a major issue with these types of stories. By the time our hero fights their way to what they believe is salvation, they learn that the real threat wasn't the undead, but lame-ass humans. Both stories end up the same by the end. Other than that, if you haven't seen the first episode of The Walking Dead, I highly recommend it. It is an amazing comic to television adaptation. Guys, I can't believe it, but I have to apologize for all the fans of this movie. I was so wrong. This thing is awesome. From the strange pace of walking into an unknown world, fighting the infected, developing new relationships with other survivors, and even stopping to try and enjoy living without all that stress, Jim and his friends go through the ringer of nightmares, and it dares the audience to engage in their journey. 28 Days Later is a 5 out of 5. Now, I will also say there are only 3 great zombie films in this world. Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, I made a review of that a while ago. The 2010s remake of Crazies, that's a whole other video discussion. And now, this one, 28 Days Later. Okay, I got a question for you. This is the only movie in this franchise I've seen, and I see that there's other sequels. Are they worth it? Because this one is clearly a one-time and done. There should have never been any sequels. And I'm seeing that Jeremy Renner's in 28 Weeks Later. That doesn't seem good to me. Okay, tell me in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Bye.